that there is a swahakara, and in that swahakara you offer. Indraya swaha, Varunaya swaha. Whoever is the propitiated form of Devi or Devata that you are invoking in that yaga, you offer this unto them. And whatever is being offered, it is understood that it is being transported to that Devata in their loka. So many people ask, this is not something believable, that how come what you are offering here in this fire is going somewhere in that loka? It should at least be make-believe kind of a thing. So I said, do you have somebody, your children, studying in some other country? I said, yes. What is the complaint that you have about them? That they do not talk to you often. But whenever they do talk, you know exactly why they are calling. Mama, I need, okay, how much do I send you? Immediately, right? So when you are transferring the money into their account, do you think that whatever you are depositing into the bank, the exact same number of currency is going to them? Not necessarily. An equivalent of that is being given to them into their account. Not necessarily the same currency that which you are depositing. Understood? There is a wire transfer agency involved. Right? Similarly, the transferring agency is called Agni Devata. And to that Agni Devata also during the yaga you offer his cut. Agnaye swaha idam namama. Bhaiya, please transfer this to that particular loka, and for having transferred it, your share of this is also being given to you. And whatever we are offering, the energy is transferred, equivalent of it, into the subtler worlds in the form of subtler energy. So we are busy in that the whole day in the morning. By afternoon, they have light lunch. Because as soon as the Madhya Pradesh is filled, Uttar Pradesh becomes little dull. Right? Feel like a little nap is required. But they cannot afford it because they have taken the sankalpa of doing this Satra Yaga. So there is a certain discipline to it that they can afford to sleep only during night. So they take light lunch, executive lunch, a very light one. And then as soon as their things are done, the whole place is cleaned up, then they go approach Suta Mahashaya. Therefore, in all the Puranas, the conversation is always as a question from Shaunakadi Rishis to Suta Mahashaya. Yesterday we saw one of the examples is including the Satyanarayana Katha, where Shaunaka is asking, Suta is answering. As soon as Suta Mahashaya is questioned, Sutaji says, this is the best part of being with all of you, that your focus is not deviated into any other worldly affairs. The group of you, the bunch of you always come with such interesting questions to ask. Now that you all have asked this, so Suta Uvacha Bhaktyoga Vardhanam Yacha Krishna Santosha Hetukam tadaham te bhidasyami savadhanataya shrunu. Savadhanataya shrunu. Hearing happens because, fortunately or unfortunately, the ears are open. If the ears also had the lids like what we have for our eyes, probably 99% of us, 100% of the time, would have kept our ears shut. Fortunately, it is open. So hearing happens as a default process. अपने आप हो जाता. But to that which we hear, when there is an intelligent processing that is involved to digest that which has been heard, is called Shravana. In other words, a proper listening happens. Otherwise, it is just hearing. When the hearing starts making sense, then it is called listening. So, savadhanataya, with alertness, please listen. Sutaji also understands that this is in the later afternoon program, and it is this time when Nidra Devi, unasked, comes and dances heavily on the eyelids. Aprayatnataya. Earlier, when I was young, I had taken to sannyasa. If somebody were to sleep in my discourse, in my satsang, I used to feel very bad. Then something else happened. After that, my standpoint has changed and I have evolved. So there was this person, they were a couple, they came together. And as soon as I finished Sahana Bhavatu, Guru Brahma invocation is done, the husband used to not only fall asleep, but used to have sound sleep. You understand sound sleep? Sound, sleep for himself and sound for everybody else around. So my request since then, my evolution is, so jao, par kharate mat marna. That also can be seen as a blessing. The Bechara must not have slept all through. That finds some pleasant time wherein the mind has the opportunity to at least sleep. Satsang is a good medicine for insomnia. चलो नींद तो लग जाती है. जैसे सावधानतया शृणु. Because the question that you have asked is very important, especially in this particular yuga, which is the Kali Yuga. It says Śrīmadbhāgavatam Shastram Kalau Kirena Bhashitam. Now in this Kali Yuga, where the Kala Prabhava itself is so strong that the mind is automatically ready to jump out. Anything subtler to focus upon one's own improvement, one's own change, one's own betterment, or to focus upon that Bhagavān, mind feels very distracted, doesn't feel interested in it. So therefore, I will tell this in such a way that the mind is wrapped in this Bhagavan's Katha. And in this Kali Yuga, it is the most easy and the best way to attune ourselves to that Bhagavan. He says this is the only prayatna wherein normally the karma siddhanta is jaisi karni, vaisi bharni. As you sow, so you reap. Meaning you are the one that is performing something, therefore the result of it comes back only to you. Sometimes the postal department or the courier that comes can get wrongly dropped in wrong addresses. But karma and karma phala, there is no wrong address. It will come back to you and trace you wherever you are, and it will knock on your door. Whatever you do, it comes back to you and you alone. Right? If this karma siddhanta is understood, there is only one action wherein somebody else performs the action, you reap the benefit of it. That is called Katha Shravana. In Katha Shravana, who is the one that is putting the effort? And who is it that is reaping the benefit of it? So in this strange equation, wherein we get to benefit from someone else's to reach to that highest, to that altar of Bhagavān, such Katha Shravana is the easy method, and let me delve deep into this particular topic. Parikshite katham vaktum sabhabhyam samsthite shukhe sudha kumbham gruhitvaiva devas tatra samagaman. This knowledge, this Katha of Bhagavata was given to Parikshita by Bhagavan Shukadeva himself. In fact, Shukadeva Sabhayam Samsthite. He reached to the environment where Parikshita was sitting. I think on the first day I was telling that in our traditions, in our Bharatiya tradition, in our culture, in our religion, we name our next generation with a certain depth of meaning to the names. There is a certain significance added to the names that we have for our children. Usually there are some Devi Devatas names or their great attributes or adjectives. That is how we name them. Parikshita was also named in that very fashion. We all know that Ashwathama's arrow, because he was now surrounded by the Pandavas and they were angry at Ashwathama because of his dushkarma, that he had killed the Upa-Pandavas, that too while they were sleeping. So they had traced Ashwathama. From all corners he was cornered in, and then as his last resort, he pulled out a straw from the roof that he was encaptured in, chanted the Brahmastra and shot it at the yet to be born son of Abhimanyu. He was still in the womb. And in that womb, because this Parikshita who is yet to be born, in the womb it seems, he saw a very divine form with 4 arms, Chaturbhuja Rupa, with the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, protecting the womb that this Parikshita was, and he did not allow that Brahmastra to even touch him even a bit. And in that Garbha Samskara of his, he had a very deep image of that Bhagavān with Chaturbhuja. Though he could not register for the goodness of him, his face was not very clear because it was so radiatingly brilliant that he could not focus on the features of the face. Right since the time that he was born, He would constantly evaluate the world outside, the interactions that he had with various people. Whenever he would see a new person, he would evaluate, was he this person that protected me within? Lokan parikshayati iti parikshitah. The one who would evaluate the world that he would interact with in search of that Bhagavān that had protected him, that Sri Hari that had protected him. And because of this, he was named as Parikshit. So this dialogue which happened, Katha Sudha, this was given by Shukacharya to Parikshita. Now in this particular story, the first time that this particular Katha was given is by Bhagavān himself to Brahmaji, and Brahmaji gave this to Sanat Kumaras, and the parampara goes on this way. So Shaunaka says, Loka vigraha muktasya naradasya sthirasya cha vidhishrave kutah pritaha samyogah kutrate hisaha. He says, no, he did not mention anywhere that Narada also was engaged in this Bhagavat Katha. But probably Shaunakadi Rishis must have heard this particular Bhagavat Katha from Suta Mahashaya himself several times prior to this. When you sit with your children or grandchildren, they have one or two favorite stories, don't they? Whenever at night you have to make them to fall asleep, they will invariably ask those stories to be repeated or read out to them loud. You must have been repeating that story 100th time, bored of repeating it. But they are inquisitively ready to hear to that. So similarly, Shaunakadi Rishis must have heard this particular story from Suta Mahashaya several times before. Therefore, they already know the plot. Sometimes it happens that when I have to speak on Ramayana or Mahabharata, there are one or two kids who have had the opportunity to go through Amar Chitrakatha, go through the Mahabharata series or Ramayana series. They know every plot and twist that can be offered in that story, and it is on their fingertips. Before you can start narrating the story, that kid would be jumping all over the place telling the entire story. Shaunakadi Rishis are also like that, wherein they say, oh, here Narada also comes, right? Can you tell us about that particular part of the story of Narada and his involvement in understanding this Bhagavata? That's a very interesting story. Now Suta must have been smiling. Must have been smiling and thinking, "Bacche to bacche, baap re baap." That these elderly people are also so engaged that they want certain specific stories to be repeated to them. So he says, Atrate kirtayashyami bhakti yuktam kathanakam shukena mama yat proktam rahasishyam vicharya ekada hi vishalayam chatvara rishayo malaha satsangartham samayata dadrishas tatra naradam. See, this is the great aspect that which we can see. Whenever somebody asks a question, no teacher in any aspect of our scripture ever claims that this knowledge is mine. I have patented this. No, they always give that due credit to their earlier generation from where they have gotten this knowledge to say, I am but just a tiny part of this entire parampara. So he says, Atrate kirtayishyami. Oh, that I will certainly talk about Narada also. Now, where did I hear it? Shuke namam yat proktam. Shukacharya, I had the great opportunity to listen to this story of Bhagavata directly from Shukacharya himself. Sishyam vicharyacha. He was quite benevolent in accepting even me as his Sishya. Ekada, long ago, that's how every story starts. Ekada, Vishalaya. Vishala is Badri Vishala. Badri Vishal is Badrikashram in Badrinath. There, that Bhagavān Narayana is called Badri Vishal Narayana. So Vishalayam, Badri Vishalayam, Chatvaraha Rishayaha Amalaha. They are the Sanat Kumaras, the ever young 4 quadruplets that were born of Brahmaji's Sankalpa. So they are called Ayonija. They were not born of the womb, but just by the Sankalpa of Brahmaji, these 4 were born. And Brahmaji as Prajapati requested them that, you should help me in procreating this world. They said, Hey Tata, oh Father, wish we could help you, but our minds are so introverted and they are drawn only to Bhagavan. To do your Vyavahara, we are not available. If our mind was available, we would have participated. But the way you have created us, we are not available for it. So Brahmaji said, okay, I'll give up my hopes in you, go meditate. So since then, they have been constantly traveling in through these 14 worlds. But they had one rule for their life, is wherever by evening that they would reach, they would freshen up, take the bath and the nearby river or a pond or a lake. In rotation, one of the 4 is decided to be the Vakta. The other 3 become the Sishya. So between the 4 of them, they would have constant satsanga. Not a day goes by without having satsanga. So satsangartham samayata. So they were having their pre-planned satsanga. One of the Sanat Kumaras was getting ready to sit on the higher pedestal, and the other 3 were about to sit near him to listen to whatever is the satsanga. At that point, Dadrushuhu Tatra Naradam. There they saw Bhagavan Narada. Dadrushuhu Naradam. Kumaraha Uchuhu. Uvacha is when it is singular. Uchuhu is when there is plural. So there are Kumaraha, 4 of them. So it is, they spoke thus. Katham Brahman Dina Mukhaha Kutaschintaturo Bhavan Tvaritam Gamyate Kutra Kutascha Tava Idanim Shunya Chittosi Gata Vitto Yatha Janaha Tavedam Mukta Sangasya Nochitam Vadakaranam. They say, Hey Narada, Hey Brahman. Now Naraji is their Anuja. He is also Brahma Sankalpa Jata. He is also born out of the Sankalpa of Brahmaji. He is also one of those who followed his older brother's footpath. And what were the older brothers? They said, we are not interested in the Vyavahara into the outside world. we will go into the path of meditation. Naradji also took to the same path. So they are all brothers. They said, hey Narada, fancy seeing you here. And not just that we are seeing you here, why do you look chintaturaha bhavan? Why do you look so bogged down with something worrying you? And how does your face look? He said, Gata vitto yatha janaha. Like as though somebody who has lost heavily in their investment. Gata vittaha. Vittam. Dhanam. Gatam. You know, somebody has lost all their wealth and fortune. Your face looks like that. Why do you look so dina-hina? Shunya chittaha asi. Usually you are the one that is so of the amongst the many, he is the happy-go-lucky kind. Agate swagatam kuryat nirgate nanivarayat. If anything comes, he says Bhagavad Echa, Haricha. If something goes away, he says Haricha. In both ways, he is constantly in a very happy disposition. And don't go by this TV series and movies where he is depicted in the most pathetic way. In the most dishonest way, he is depicted. As though he has no better work, he is the one depicted as constantly having the mischief of igniting irritable situations for people. That in many languages there is a saying. In Telugu there is Naradulla Chichu Pedtaventi. Why are you, as though Narada has no other definition. In fact, pay attention. A very beautiful thought. Jnana, the root word, there is a vyutpatti where it says Jnana, the root word can also mean Nara, Naram, Jnanam. Nara can also mean Jnana. The abode of this knowledge and wisdom, therefore the Supreme is called Narayana. Narasya Ayanam, the abode of knowledge and wisdom. Ayanam means home, abode. So the abode of knowledge and wisdom therefore is called Narayana. Who is qualified to understand this and realize this in their life? Nara, Nari, the human being. We have the right or the correct aptitude to understand that Paramatma. Who gives this knowledge? The Guru. Naram dadati iti naradaha. The one who gives this knowledge is called Narada. Naram dadati yahasaha. Supposing, in spite of having the opportunity to learn this knowledge, but we do not practice, apply it in our lives, where do we reach? Absence, a place where it is absence of knowledge. And what is that place where it is absence of knowledge? Naraka, where that knowledge is destroyed. The place that where we reach. Naraka is not a mythical place where you don't know what will happen. Wherever we do stupidity, idiosyncratic lifestyle because absence of knowledge. That in itself is Naraka. And where do we have to reach to find that fulfillment? Nara, Ayanam, Narayanam. Who is it that leads us there? Narada, the Guru, that teaches us this knowledge and wisdom. Who is qualified? One thing is given. At least those of us who are here, Nara Nari, is qualified for it. And this knowledge and wisdom is being given. Blessings of Bhagavan, we have the opportunity to hear. Now, if there is supposed to be any other thing missing, it is just Atma Kripa. Having heard this, it is our ability to transform the hearing into listening so that it makes sense and guides us properly in the direction. Now that Narada, when questioned, so Narada says, Narada Uvacha, Aham tu prithivim yataha. Now he has got a permanent visa to all 14 worlds. No, he has got a diplomatic immunity where he can go through all 14 worlds unquestioned, undeterred by anybody. So in one of such trips, he says, Aham tu prithivim yataha. I had gone recently, I just came back from Bhuloka, Prithvi. I used to have good experience going to Prithvi. Jnatva sarvottamamiti. So I used to visit various Tirtha Kshetras. This time also I had the opportunity. I went for Tirtha Yatra. So where did I go? It says, Pushkarancha Prayagancha Kashim Godavarim Tatha Harikshetram Kurukshetram Shri Rangam Setu Bandhanam Yevamadishu Tirtheshu Brahmamana Itastataha. So I went to Pushkara. See what happens when these places lose their originality of their very akara by nama. Our next generations, when they hear such stories, but to tag along, they do not find something to connect with in this world. What will they interpret it as? ये बस ऐसे कहानियां बोल रहे हैं. Pushkara, where is Pushkara? In Rajasthan, right? Prayaga, Prayaga is Prayagraj, which had been earlier named Allahabad. Now it has thankfully been brought back to its original name, Prayagraj, Triveni Sangam, Kashi, Varanasi, Godavari. I don't know where he is referring to Godavari. The beginning to the end, it is a long journey. Harikshetram, Haridwar. I think the case has been there for the last 60 plus years. It is still debated. There is no judgment given on it. That there is two teams that are contesting. What should we call this kshetra? As Harikshetra or Haridwara or Haradwara? Because you see the spelling in both ways. Because Haridwara, it is the entrance to go to Padrinath. Haradwara, because it is the entrance to go to Kedarnath. So both kshetras, this is the entry point. So now the fight is, what do we end up calling it? Whether it is Haridwar or Haradwar. And I would have given judgment, Bhagavadwar. Ab jao, go figure. I wouldn't change the tradition of calling it as either Haridwar or Haridwar. So Harikshetra is that Haridwar. Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is in the parts of today's Haryana, Chandigarh, Punjab, there's a large portion of it is called Kurukshetra. Srirangam. Srirangam is down south. Right? Srirangam, there is a big, huge temple complex there. Setubandham, Rameshwaram. Those people who were challenging that there is no thing like Rama or any Rama's bridge, please read. At least 5,000 years ago, Vyasa ji had already mentioned these places. Setubandha, the bridge that was connecting between this and that Lankapuri, Setubandha. Evamadishu tirtheshu brahmamanaha itastataha. He says, though I have visited all these places, this time when I went, Napashyam kutra kacharma manas santoshakarakam kalina dharma mitrena dhareyam badhitadhuna. I was not very content with what was happening in these places, in the Tirtha Kshetra. You might ask why. Satyam nasti tapah na shaucham daya danam na vidyate udaram bharino jivaha varakah kutavashinaha. In these Tirtha Kshetras, as I was traveling, I found there was nobody living to the value. There were no virtuous people. Even in these Tirtha Kshetras, that place where they should have been sadhu, sajjana, I found people trying to cheat others. There is no tapa. There is no strength in their tapas. There is no penance. There is no cleanliness of thought, word and deed. There is no compassion. There is no dhanam. And almost everybody were living a life wherein it is udaram bharinaha, udara nimittam bahukrita veshaha. This last line comes in Bhajagovindam. That everybody is only acting up and their main priority is for filling their stomach. Many beggars point that to us when they beg. Looking at what you are. So if you have the tilak, bottu and other things, they say, Bhagavān ke naam pe do paise de de. Papi pet ka sawal. So udara nimittam bahukrita vesha. And the quality of people in Kali Yuga has suddenly, deplorably gone back. And that is the sad part that I observe. His description even today fits perfectly. Mandastu mandamatayaha mandabhagya hripadhritaha pakhandinasta nirataha santo virakta saparigraha. So this is called Kali Yuga. The autobiography of a Kali Yugan given in one shloka. Mandaha. People are not very sharp. Earlier, there used to be the student-teacher relationship in such a way that the teacher taught once and the student remembered whatever was taught for the rest of the life. To such a point that they could repeat everything verbatim without MP3 players or nothing of these externalities to support. They were called Eka Santagrahi. That you listen to it once and you remember it to reproduce it exactly verbatim as is. Now, if somebody were to come and ask, I studied all this a long time ago, who will remember? Mandaha. not very sharp, dense, manda. Mandaha, mandamatayah, mandamatayah, not very sharp in processing things to experience so that they don't commit the same mistakes again and again. You all know how to drive, right? If you have to come to this place, in spite of all the new bridges and connectivities that have been given, ORR given, when you have to reach to this place, and yes, your Google Didi is also there, constantly guiding and saying, in spite of that, how many times would you think it is okay for you to miss the road to come to this place? हर दिन आना है. How many times is it okay for you to miss the road and go somewhere else and then realize, अरे आज भी miss हो गया? How many times is it okay? First time it is okay. Now what do we call somebody when they miss the exit the nth time, that they have to go all the way, miss the exit and then come back scolding themselves, "Chha, aaj bhi galti ho." Would it be okay to say that about 85-90% of our life is day in and day out on a constant repeat mode? Same ghar we wake up, thankfully. Same alarm we smash every day. It is not like somebody else put that alarm for us. We decided it earlier night. Same four walls that we wake up in. Same morning coffee, tea. Same morning routine. Would it be okay to say that 85-90% of our life is constantly, daily repeating the interaction with predominantly the same people, same environments? In the world of psychology, they say that if you repeat something over a period of 21 times, by the 22nd time, you should have become an expert at it. यहाँ तो पूरी जिंदगी काट डाली. We interact with the same people, same husband, same wife, same children, same in-laws, same friends, same outlaws. Everything is same. We have lived with that environment for umpteen number of years, knowing very well how the environment acts, reacts, responds to every given situation. We have all the statistical data with us. And yet, why mandamatayah is we have enough data that we have already experienced. Garam chai de raha hai. I do not know that it is hot. I sip it and burn my mouth once. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Whole lifetime we have been fooled, and we have no one else to blame. I read this somewhere in a corporate magazine that if in the middle of thick of a devastating situation, if somebody has a smile on their face, they know who to blame it on. आज का बकरा कौन है डिसाइड हो चुका है. But otherwise, there is nobody else to blame. And it is not something new. It has been umpteenth time repeated in our own life. And yet we commit the same mistake. Because we are not processing it. Suddenly anticipating, tada, everything around will change. And such things happen only in the magic wand of Harry Potter. Not in reality. In reality, it has to be changed from within. And yet we fail at it. Manda Mataya. Okay, they are not very sharp. They are not making use of their experience. Maybe they are lucky. Maybe their bhagya is to their favor. Manda bhagya. In Bombay Hindi, there is a certain vocabulary where they say, "Mera bad luck ही खराब है." अब उनका बैड लक ही खराब है. मंद भाग्याः अपि. मंदाः सुमंदमतयः मंदभाग्याः. Even if there is no opportunity of good luck, they are shant people. They will sit in one corner. अपने में मजे में है, ठीक है. No, that also is absent. Hyupadrutaha, constantly agitated, paranapi agitayanti. They themselves are agitated, therefore what do they create around themselves? Hyper-tensed situations constantly. Udhrutaha, ugravadinaha, agitators. Yes, you can call them influencers in today's world. Pakhandanirata santaha, virakta saparigraha. To such a standpoint of lifestyle, of ethics, morals and values, that their own crooked ways are being justified as chalta hai. That is the norm. When you see your own child who is being very, very straightforward, simple-hearted. I have seen parents bring such children to me when I am teaching in that age group. Swamiji, very naive. I don't know how this fellow will survive the world. Kuch sikhao. As a man, you don't need me. You are experts at it. What is it that they are expecting me to teach that kid? Crooked ways. And those crooked ways are being called as smart living. Do you see this? That the crooked ways is considered as the norm, and we expect the child to be taught those crooked ways so that they can be seen as smart. And if they are not into those crooked ways, we often even comment, पता नहीं इस बेवकूफ को कौन जवाब देगा. They are considered as dumb. Can you imagine what kind of valueless? When I say valueless, it is not less of value. Absence of value is valueless. That we have taken it to be a norm. Bhakanda nirataha santaha. Those who have to lead us with values only have values as respect but not as virtues, because nobody is practicing. This is what Naradji is talking about. Kali Yuga. Does it apply to us, this particular environment? जवाब देने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, सोचो. One of you, whoever is agile, can you enlighten us? Enlightenment guaranteed every day. There you go. सारे स्विच डाल दो, ऑन करो. That also. Huh? That is not there? Okay. इतना काफी. Thank you. And then he goes on to say one thing that stands out in all this. He says, such have become people wherein Attashula Janapadaha Shivashula Dvijatayaha Kaminya Kesha Shulinyaha Sambhavanti Kalaviha. One thing that stands out here, he says, Kali Yuga has become so downtrodden that food is sold, water is sold. This is something that should be given out of goodness to somebody who deserves that food, and to be given as a seva to the other person to see that Narayana in them. And yet, the Kali Yuga is a place where food is being sold. It has become an opportunity to make money out of food and water. What can be more deplorable than that? Signs of Kali Yuga. We are well established in those. Atithi is no more seen as Narayana. He is seen as pain in the neck. क्या फोन नहीं है उनके पास? बोल के नहीं आ सकते? आके टपक गया ऐसे ही. मैं पिछली बार बोला भी था, आना चाहते हो तो बोल के आया कर. अतिथि has become like a दूषित शब्द. It's not Narayana anymore. Food is being sold, water is being sold. And to tell you, there is such a strange thing that I experienced which really shook me up. He says, Tatrascharya maya drishtum shruyatam tan munishvaraha ekatu taruni tatra nishanna khinnamanasa vruddhau dau patitau parshve nishvasantau acetanau sushrushishanti prabodhanti rudati cha tayoh pura. I saw this very strange thing. There was this young lady, very brilliant looking, but she was crying and she was pulling along two very old people who were looking as though they were on their last deathbed. They were looking so famished. So as soon as I saw them, I approached this lady. As soon as she saw me, she stood up, did namaskar, and then Balavacha, that girl, that lady, spoke to me. Bho bho sadho kshanam tishta machintam apinashaya darshanam tava lokasya sarvata ghaharam param. She immediately recognized that this was none other than Narada that she came across. She immediately jumped up, folded her hands and says, Bho bho sadho kshanam tishta. Please stop. It is such a great opportunity that I see you here, and that too in this position when I am looking for somebody to help me. Then Naraji is like, Madam, hai kaun aap? Who are you? So Narada says, Kasitvam ka vimauche maha naryah ka padmalochanaha vada devi savistaram swasya dukkhasya karanam. Wait, who are you? And who are these that you are dragging behind you? What is your plight? Why do you look so sad? Then that Bala, that young looking girl said, Aham bhaktiridikhyataha imau me tanayau matau. I am known as Bhakti Devi. Devotion. And these two children, these two that I am pulling, are my children. Their names are Jnana and Vairagya. Jnana Vairagya Namanau Kala Yogena Jarjarau. In this Kali Yuga, in fact, even I was in the same condition just a few days ago. I have been revived. As soon as I came to this Vrindavana, I regained my original shape and form. But in this Kali Yuga, my children, Jnana and Vairagya, they have lost their glory. That they look in this saddened state. That I am looking young and they are looking almost old and on their deathbed. I am trying to pull them back to life. Nobody seems to be able to help us. So she says, you wanted savistaram, you wanted to know the entirety of my dukkha and its karana. So she says, Utpanna dravidesaham vruddhim karnatake gata kvachit kvachin maharashtre gurjare jirnatam gata. Just as a sidetrack, whoever said that there was no idea of Bharat before the British? There Bhakti Devi is saying very clearly, Utpanne Dravide, Dravida Kshetra. Dravida Kshetra is Tamil Nadu. Karnataka is also South India only. Karnatake Vruddhim Gata. I was conceived and I grew up in Tamil Nadu. Bhakti is talking about herself. That Bhakti was quite predominant in Tamil Nadu. In Karnataka, I grew to a certain stature. In Maharashtra, I was nourished very well. By the time I came to Gujarat, Jirnam Gata, I started losing my virtue. I started losing my glory. Somehow dragged myself to this particular Vrindavana Kshetra. I have regained my original form. Bhakti is fully, predominantly practiced, but Jnana Vairagya are completely neglected. Let us pause here and think about the significance of this story. Many people ask, Swamiji, what kind of path are you on? Are you on Bhakti Marga, Jnana Marga, or people ask such questions? Are you Vaishnava, Shaiva, Shakta? What are you? They said, from all your standpoints, you are looking for retail. I work in wholesale. All of the above and plus much more. foolish is the mindset where they say that bhakti is a separate path, jnana is a separate path. In our foolishness, let us not separate the mother and the child. Who is the mother? Bhakti Devi is the mother. In whosoever heart bhakti is invoked, in the true sense, it should reflect as a result called jnana and vairagya necessarily. There was one Mahatma ji that I recently met. He was talking about a similar concept. He said, हमारी मूर्खता में भक्ति को बांझ बना रहे. We are making Bhakti Devi childless in saying that bhakti and jnana are two separate. Born of bhakti is jnana and vairagya. Who are we to separate them? Bhakti is the mother, the cause. What is the effective result? Jnana and vairagya. Whoever starts in whichever sadhana of path, they should start with bhakti. They will be blessed with jnana and vairagya. When we ask what sadhana should we begin, start from tuning our minds, tuning ourselves in devotion, in surrender to that Bhagavan. Rest of it will start falling in place. All that which we require is Shraddha to begin with. People say, do not have blind faith. I have a different take on it. It is only the blind that need faith. Does fire burn your fingers? See, when you tell your children, be careful with fire, be careful at the stove, be careful with hot things. Why? It has a tendency that it can burn you. For somebody who has not experienced it, you take the word of advice as the ultimate guiding factor. Why? You are blinded with a lack of experience. You trust and take the word to guide you. So who needs faith? Only the blind need faith. Until when? Until you experience it and it is now a fact. Fact doesn't require faith. You are already experienced. Therefore, who requires faith? श्रद्धा किसे चाहिए? जिनको अनुभूति ना हो. The one who does not have the experience requires that Shraddha. Because sometimes very intellectually we discuss and say, oh, I don't believe in blind faith. And that is a ironic statement which sounds very good but has no logical support to it. Bhakti, wherever with Shraddha, Bhakti is invoked. There are many definitions that we will see as we go through this Bhagavatam. One of the greatest definitions to understand clearly is Bhakti is love for that supreme. Where, and this is a very easy word to understand, where surrender is primary. How do we understand surrender? Very simple. That word surrender has to be understood in two different languages. Sar apna, under their feet. Sar, under the feet of that Bhagavan. No questions asked. I'll tell you a story before I proceed. I met a Mahatma ji. This was in Vrindavan. But he grew up in Rishikesh. So his story is like one of those classical stories where, there were these kathakars and people going towards Haridwar, Rishikesh, the Char Dham Yatra. He loved the Bhajan Sankirtan. He was about 6-7 years old. He just joined the troop and he was so engaged in that bhajan that it is only after having reached Rishikesh somebody saw, ye bachcha kiska hai? Whose child is this that has been following us? And they don't know which village this kid started continuing with them. So panicking, they went to the nearest Gurukula in Rishikesh. So that sadhu who was running that Gurukula said, you can leave that kid here. It's a very safe environment. But when you go back, inform those places that there is this kid. If anybody is searching for a kid, they can come here to pick this kid. This kid will be safe here. But this kid never bothered to think about who his parents were or whatever. He was busy learning in that Gurukula. So in the Gurukula system, every day morning, all the brahmacharins, in the northern part, especially in the Himalayan regions, you don't have to stand there as a Shishya to ask saying Bhikshandehi. You just have to say Narayana Hari. The Grihasthas understand that there is somebody who has come for alms. Usually the brahmachari Vatu from the Gurukula is there. They come give the uncooked food for them to process in the ashram. So this fellow understood. This is a great place. Guruji is teaching. All that I have to do, morning, go to few places, fill my thing, bring it to the ashram. The rest of the time, I have the opportunity to do seva in the temple. I was fortunate to meet this Mahatma ji. So he says one day he was going around and in this particular house, he said, Narayan Hari. Usually people respond, aa rahi hu. Usually the mother of that house said, beta thodi der ruko, aa rahi hu. And slowly that lady came with a bowl full of whatever grains. And she seemed to be very in lot of pain or discomfort. So this kid, he was still a small boy. So he looked at it and she was pregnant. But this young Mahatma ji, when he was young, he did not even realize what pregnancy meant. So his question, it seems, was, "Oh mother, last time I fell down from the tree, my head got hit and there was a small swelling. Where did you fall that badly that your stomach is swelling?" So the mother also smiled exactly like how you all smiled, it seems, and said, "Nahi beta, I am carrying a life in my stomach. This is how you also were born." So this kid started calculating or thinking, processing information. But where and how does this kid go out for bhiksha? I am in this Gurukula, the Guruji says, go bring bhiksha and I come. And that is what feeds me. Where does this kid go to get this bhiksha? So the mother again laughed. Very rarely you come across such innocence. So the mother very kindly laughed and said, no beta, Bhagavān has done enough that whatever is needed, necessary for that kid, reaches that kid in the womb itself, until it is safe for that kid to be born out into this world. So that Mahatma ji says, पता नहीं उस दिन कुछ तो चमका मेरे माथे में. That he understood something. He dropped that bhiksha bag, bhiksha bowl right there. He says, I ran away into the forest. It was only after 3 years that my Guruji from that Gurukula found me in that cave. So we were all inquisitive. आप भागे क्यों? Why did you run away from here also? You left home. That was your first exit. This is now second one. Why? He said, what I understood that day is, if Bhagavān and his providence is so beautiful that he is already taking care of us even before we are born, do you think he will not take care of me when I am already born? I had now the complete understanding that he shall take care. I somehow got that complete confidence that Bhagavān will take care of me every step of the way. So I dropped and I started meditating upon him in that cave. And it's only 3 years later, some cowherd people, they found me there, informed that Mahatma ji, and he came and retrieved me back. That is the power of Shraddha. That is the power of having faith in that Supreme. That before being born, he has already taken care. Do you think after we are born, he will fail us? You know what our problem is? Our problem is we want to be taken care in a certain pattern. And when that doesn't happen, we say, no, the Bhagavān pata nahi hai ki nahi. In the Telugu movies also there are several songs. Unnava, Asal Unnava. Even to question that for your very being existent. Without him, there is no possibility. To have that confidence is called bhakti. Wherever that bhakti is, how does that bhakti express? It expresses in twofold, as jnana and as vairagya. Vairagya means what? Vairagya does not mean disinterested. Vairagya doesn't mean that to drop everything and run away. What does Vairagya mean? Vairagya means that which is taking me towards Bhagavān, I am associating with. That which does not, I clearly know, will not take me towards Bhagavān. Without a second thought, I drop. Effortlessly, I drop. On Saturday, I have to drive back to Vijayawada. What direction is Vijayawada from here? East. So when I start driving east towards Vijayawada as the focus, effortlessly what is happening to all other directions? They get dropped. Vairagya is not like, I will not see, I will not hear, I will not. उतना तड़प नहीं है उसमें. Vairagya is often portrayed as the most painful because you have to now drop. You don't even think about it. So you see your own children, while they are growing up, they are attached to a certain toy, certain doll, certain things that they are attached to. After a certain age, that because of which that child had fought with their own sibling, अपने भाई बहन से ही झगड़ा करता था. If there were neighbors that would come, would feel very insecure because those kids also would want to play with that toy, would be throwing their tantrums. After a certain while, the toy is still there. If there is a small child that comes to your house, somebody, relative's child, and that child wants to play, and this fellow will pick it up, dust it, and say, okay, play. There is not even a second thought. Mera hai. My toy. Thankfully, he has grown out of it. That there is not even a second thought spent as to what will happen to that toy. He is actually joyous that another kid is also enjoying with that toy. Dispassion or vairagya doesn't mean Gandhi ji ke teen bandar. Like, you have to close, shut everything and stay away. In fact, the example given, whether it is in Bhagavad Gita or elsewhere, is like the lotus leaf in the water. Another beautiful point. Where does the lotus grow? Murky, muddy, dirty water. Have you ever seen a lotus flower? Have you ever smelled it? अगली बार opportunity मिले तो smell कर. It is even more subtler fragrance than a jasmine. No wonder why the bees are so attracted. They are in trance because of that smell. Such beauty, such elegance, such delicateness, such fragrance in the lotus. Right? Has the lotus ever complained? Bhagavān, you expect such elegance. Look where you have put me. Dirty water. How do you expect me to pull the best in this environment? Do you think it ever complains? In spite of being in such environment, it draws its very existence from that environment without that pollution ever reaching that subtlety. In spite of being in such troubled environments, it brings the best. If by mistake something of that environment, even if it falls on the leaf, Padma Patram Ivambhasa, a gentle breeze, and that dirt is just shaken off. It doesn't even touch that lotus. That is called Vairagya. Vairagya is not about running away or being scared of being shy of anything. Why? Because it is backed by knowledge. Wherever there is an act of dispassion or Vairagya without the backing of knowledge, it leads to fear. अरे बाप रे उधर जाऊंगा तो कुछ नहीं, as in Hindi they say, बाल का बांका भी नहीं बिगड़ेगा. Why? Because I am thoroughly backed by that knowledge. Knowledge brings clarity. In that basking sun of clarity, no doubt, nothing shaking will ever take you away. That is called confidence born because of devotion and trust in the Almighty. Because the clarity is keeping you straight on the path, even though there are deviations, even though there are distractions. You will only look at them, smile and move on. See, when you are a kid, it is dark outside. You will be scared. It is so dark. Now you have grown up. Hopefully you are not scared of the dark. I tell people, it is not you who have to be scared. It's whatever lurking in that darkness should be scared of you. World and worldliness cannot touch you because you now have the clarity that it cannot touch you. It doesn't have that hold on you. If it still does, it means bhakti is not instilled in a proper way. Go reboot your system, re-download Bhakti 2.0, refresh your RAM and ROM, recharge yourself so that it reflects in your day-to-day as Jnana and Vairagya. Bhakti is not devoid of Jnana and Vairagya. Wherever Bhakti is, Jnana and Vairagya is must. And in the Kali Yuga, in the name of Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya, what we practice is an enactment of Bhakti, enactment of Vairagya, enactment of being wiser than the rest. It's called Dhambika Jivanam. Hypocritical lifestyle. And that is why Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya are saying, Baba Re Baba, we are being suffocated because nobody is nourishing us in the right attitude. So Naradji says, don't worry. Now that I have come to hear you, I will try to find, I don't know how, but I will try to find a solution for it. What does a Mahatma in our life do? They will not change our life. They will give us the tools. A guru in life, what is their job? They will enable us with the tools to face the same life that we are going through with better equipoise so that we can navigate through without being dragged down by samsara. It is not that the samsara will suddenly get evaporated. It is the same samsara that we will live. The only difference is, am I being impacted by it or am I not being impacted by it? It is the same life that we have to go through. If with these tools we come out on the other end being better, without these tools we come out on the other end being bitter. The choice is with the individual. Should I come out being better or being bitter? So Naradji says, O Devi Bhakti, I will start working the solution on you tomorrow in the next chapter. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.